Hello there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics in the Cross, the greatest YouTubers you've never heard of. I, of course, am one of your hosts for today, Cross, and I am joined again by our crew as we jump into another indie comic book club for the month of November. And we have the whole crew with us again here today. I've got Nitro, Token Asian, and LG the Paladin all joining me today for this very special one as we look at Coda Vol.1. And there's a real point in me holding this up because if it's coming through my Discord, you all are seeing it backwards, but it's the right way around, I promise you. Thanks for that.
You got the backwards copy, didn't you?
Yeah, that's how that works, absolutely.
The manga version. Just kidding.
So we are checking this out this month. There's going to be a very interesting discussion, I feel like, today on this one. On the front as well, I'd like to point out, it does say here 2019 Best Penciler and Inker Will Eisner nominee. So nominee for a Will Eisner Award for the inking and artwork in this, which we'll definitely get into because the artwork definitely is very unique. But this was a very unique one. This was one that Nitro brought up for the group. This was one that he put forward for us to check out and to delve into. I'll be honest, I'd never heard of Coda before he'd mentioned it. This wasn't one that
I hadn't either, actually.
that I had ever heard or seen mentioned. It wasn't one that popped up anywhere, which I was very surprised at because it's very much in the sort of genre of stuff that we usually read and talk about and that we cover.
It's like high fantasy, post-apocalyptic. Like, I mean, it's right down our alley.
Exactly.
So the fact that we hadn't heard about this until we kind of started looking at stuff last month, I was really shocked about, especially with it's for Boom Studios. It's like it's a big publisher. It's not like it's a really small indie book. So we thought that's very much in fitting with us. I mean, like literally at the time of reading this, we have just wrapped up a post-apocalyptic TTRPG campaign and a D&D fantasy campaign. It's like this is literally stuff we cover on a weekly basis in some shape or form. So it was like this is a perfect book for us to dive into and check out. So this is an amazing book from Simon Spurrier and Matias Bergara. If I'm saying that correctly, I hope I am.
Yeah, I think you nailed those names.
Yeah.
Simon Spurrier, a fellow Brit, is the writer of it, and Matias Bergara is a Uruguay he's from, an artist from Uruguay, and not people whose work that I'm very aware of and that I've checked out before. So this is kind of my first into their sort of work.
Yep, Uruguay.
I thought it was. So this was a very brand new one for all of us, which is a rarity on this channel. Usually, like, because if I'm ever bringing the book, it's usually something that's caught my eye for a reason, or it's a writer, or it's an artist, or somebody. So this was one that was very brand new to all of us. Which was
and you have, like, when you talk indie comic scene, you have the big ones, like you know the big ones that everybody talks about, like Watchmen and all that stuff. But there's just, I know we've had this conversation tons of times, but there's just so many indie comics out there, and there's so many like really, really, really good ones that we don't even know exist. And that's what I was like, that's what we want to do, right? We want to find the ones that are like, how did I not know about this? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of Indie Comic Book Club. That was the whole point we started it, was we want to know more about the indie scene. So this book fit perfectly with what we were trying to do with this all the time. So we have read this, most of us recently, like within the last day or two.
Hour.
We all have ADHD. Leave us alone.
Just to be transparent, pretty much everyone on this review has some form of neurodivergence.
Yeah, so pretty much. So
leave us alone, okay?
Leave us alone.
No, I am not diagnosed with anything. Not like some that I know.
But Coda, Vol.1, what did we think of it? First impressions of the book. I'm very intrigued to hear some of the thoughts on this.
Who wants to go first?
I know you don't.
I really want Nitro to say his piece because he's been really nervous.
I could start. I'll start.
Go for it.
I'll say I honestly struggled with it, to be honest. For the most part, I just feel like it really took a while to get me really interested in what was going on, and like, And the more it moved on, I did, and especially like when we get into details later, I was like, oh, okay, like, all right, cool. This is why I should care about this. Like, this is why I should care about what's going on. And I'll be honest, like I'm like I understand like the art and stuff and its uniqueness. I don't think I'm personally there are most. I feel like it got better maybe later on, or like again, I feel like this. I guess this is with the story and the art. I feel like I was appreciated more as I went through, but I just feel like, and then like I'm a fan of like Mike Mignola who does Hellboy. His art is very art. It was
It's
very
kind of
odd.
similar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
a little
very
bit.
odd and kind of messy.
Yeah,
But this feels like that, but like times 10. And it
yeah.
really, I really struggled
Mm.
to even get interested.
Mm.
And so when there's a later point when I actually did, I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Like we're going somewhere now with this. Like, so it took me a while. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely.
So I'll say my piece. So I guess I'll start out with the positives, the pros for me.
Uh-huh.
I am like you, LJ. I think that for me, the story took a really long time to hook me. Like
Yeah.
I was over halfway through the book before I was like, oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to see where this goes.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know? And especially towards the end, which, we'll get into spoilers and everything like that, but the big reveal for the main character's wife, that's when I was like, oh, this is cool. This is
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
So I dug the story. It took me a while to get into the story, but once I was hooked, I was like, okay, yeah, I would buy volume 2 of this. I would
Mhm.
buy volume 2. The thing that I was not a fan of was two things. And like you, I understand the uniqueness of the art. I understand to an extent the style, and I understand that there is there's a market for that sort of style.
Right.
You're right. It does look like the artist from Hellboy, but the thing that I had trouble with as an artist, as someone who's very visual, I had a hard time distinguishing things on the page. It was
Yes.
really hard for me to I had to really study the page to understand what was happening. And in my opinion, you shouldn't have to do that.
See, and I love that. See, I thought I was gonna be the odd man.
No,
Like
no, no, no.
because I thought the same thing.
Well, and the thing is, for me, it was a 1-2 punch. So you had, for me, the art was at times, not all the time, because some panels are gorgeous. But
Yes.
there were a lot of the panels were like, I don't know what's going on. I need to really stop. I'm stopping the momentum of me getting through the story. I'm stopping to try to figure out what's going on this page, and it was kind of taking me out.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, the lettering for me was, I don't want to say distracting. There's a couple things that the lettering did for me. So there's points where he's kind of talking and then he asides to himself
Mhm.
and then he talks again, but it's in the same bubble.
See, I
And
like
what the letterer does is he mutes the
Yeah.
contrast of the letter, so it's an aside and then it comes back. But the thing was, there was so much dialogue on the page with your narration and also the actual dialogue, that the dialogue speech bubbles, they were just so small, and the font was so small, and that's probably just me being 41 years old. But for me, the amount of narration, I get the narration, I get the choice to have that much narration, I get it. I just wasn't a huge fan of it. And the font mixed with the art at times took me out of the story.
Yeah.
I picked this comic because of the art, because of the image on the front page. I was like, dude, this looks badass. I
Yeah.
want to read this. This looks colorful, bright, kinetic. It just looked really, really cool. But once I got in to the story, it just sometimes it got muddled, visually for
Yeah.
me.
I agree. I feel like I lost where we were at points in the story too.
Mhm.
I was like, wait, how did we get here?
Yeah.
I felt the same way, like, not to interrupt, but there were some action scenes. I felt like the action scenes, we would get from one point to another, and I'm like, I don't know how we got from here to here. And sometimes, and I don't know if it was my ADHD, I'd be like, who's this guy that he's talking to? How did they meet? Like, how did
Right.
we get
Mhm.
here?
Mhm.
Like, I don't even remember the meeting. I don't even know this dude's name, and that might have been just me missing it, but
Mhm.
um like, not to heart, but I felt the same way, Nitro, where I could have looked at the entire page and not really been able to pick out images. You really had to focus in to like see the distinguishing
Well,
like pictures on some of it.
yeah. I mean, even the main character. Like, I would have a hard time drawing the face of the main character, like what they actually look like,
Yeah.
because they're the focal point of a lot of the panels, and the way that it just kind of bleeds in sometimes to other things that are going on the page, and it's really difficult to kind of parse that out. I will say one more thing on the positive.
Mhm.
So we all play D&D. All of us play D&D.
Yeah.
And this is very like D&D. Like this story is very D&D. Like the main character is a bard.
It hits all the
They explicitly say that in the comic. There's a bard. There's elves in there.
Mhm.
There's paladins. There's quests, which they kind of make
Yeah.
fun of, like in a meta way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like that they kind of lean into it. And at one point, there's like 5 or 6 pages in the comic that is his bard song that he's singing,
Yeah.
but it's illustrated. And as again, not a huge fan of the way it was illustrated. I'm
Yeah.
not saying the illustration is bad. It just wasn't for me. But I love the fact that they dug in with the like kind of the D&D-ish or fantasy-ish niche and kind of just expanded on that. I thought that was cool.
Mhm.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
What did you think, Chris?
When I came into this, when I 100% saw the concept of this, the concept had me hooked.
Mhm.
The concept was something I had never heard of before. Like a post-apocalyptic fantasy world. Like mashing those two together, it felt like that's a world full of possibilities, that's a world full of intrigue. Like, what does that actually look like? Because they never happened together. I didn't hate the book or anything, but I felt like it didn't live up to what I was looking for. It didn't live up to it for me, of what I was expecting out of it. And a lot of the same stuff that a lot of you have mentioned. First of all, I hated that lettering technique that you talked about, Nitro.
I was not a fan. I was not a
I'm
fan.
the only one who like not hated it.
I didn't hate it, but
I hated it because I couldn't read it.
Yeah,
it wasn't
exactly.
just like every
I was
time
like,
every time he done the muted talk, the writing shrank.
and this is how I look at my phone all the time anyway.
I was going to say, like, yeah,
just my vision disability does not.
it was already small, and then on top of that, they shrunk the lettering for the aside, and then they muted the color. So it was like, it's really hard.
It's like they muted it for that bit, and then the fact that they did it so often and so frequently, and it was like I became very aware of it when it was happening. So that's the reason I didn't like it. Apart from that, I didn't notice like the small letter or anything from the regular dialogue, but when they muted it, like it drove me nuts because I'm like, I had to focus so hard to read that part. The art I thought was a very intriguing art style. I thought it was very interesting. I loved the chaotic nature of it and some of the artwork that was done, but it did make it harder to see what was going on in certain stuff, especially when they did the big splash pages. I mean, spoiler for what's coming up, but I'm thinking of like when I think it's like issue 3 or 4, like when the rolling city's coming in towards like the other big city with the cannon, like it's, and then the giant somehow involved as well, which I don't even know how the giant got involved at that point. Like all of a sudden it was just there. I'm like, you were like miles away. How are you here? You're not even involved. Why?
All right.
And it was like, what is going on?
Yeah. Right. I think it was a really cool art style, and I think it would have fared better if the coloring was different. Because I think the coloring
detracted
away from the art style, in my opinion.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it
'Cause, like,
could,
when you-
it could very much look different with a different colorists on it, I think. I don't know if the colouring was right for that art.
Yeah.
I think the major issue I honestly had with the book, the main thing I had was that I got to the end of the first volume and I just didn't care about the protagonist. I didn't care, and I'm like, there was moments where it was like there was intrigue and it looked like we were going to get stuff, like when he first goes to the city. I can't even remember what the first city's name is, but like when he's talking to like the tiny bartender or waitress or whatever the hell she is, and talking to her, and we're getting a little bit of dialogue with her, and we're starting to hear, and we're getting this intriguing story with his wife and all that, and I'm like, okay, there's some definite interesting points, but he himself, I felt, was a bit of a nothing character.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it was
I
meant
get
to be
that.
keeping him mysterious or anything like that, or like we'll reveal stuff later. But I mean, even his name was
Yeah.
was literally his name throughout the whole book. Was they just called him and I'm like,
You know what's funny? As I was trying to figure out what his name was before we started recording, and I couldn't find it, and that's why. That's because that's what it.
he never said his name. He literally kept going So everybody just started referring to him as
and
I'm like,
Maybe-
really? Are we literally doing this for a joke for the first issue or two? Fair enough, but like,
And that's the thing. I don't feel like I knew any of the characters' names except for
No,
the wife.
I was trying to recall anyone's name, and I couldn't.
yeah, the wife.
Yeah.
I knew more about the wife than I did the protagonist.
yeah,
And we didn't even get the main part about the wife until like the end of issue 3, start of issue 4, but we found out what was really going on. And I'm like, I still know more about her than I do about him.
yeah.
She's a more interesting character,
I was
honestly.
gonna say, I
100%.
wonder,
She really
I
is,
wonder if
yeah.
that's the point too. Like, I wonder if that's kind of the point, but also it didn't come across that way.
I
But
will
also-
say though that I do have enough intrigue in Coda that I would want to pick up volume 2 to see
Agreed.
what happens.
Agreed.
Like-
It's just enough for me.
Because I think overall there's like 3 volumes to this or something. It's not a long
Oh.
series. There's only like 3 volumes or something, I think.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
So part of me is like, I wonder if it hits a bit different when you've got the complete story.
Mhm.
If it literally is like 3 volumes of one story rather than like 3
Yeah.
different story arcs.
Yeah.
And so maybe it hits differently like that. But for the first issue, and I'm like, I felt like I was waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
And whereas, like, okay, there was moments you start to get intrigued, like there's moments that come up in the book when we start to get into some of the actual story points. There's plots that come up like, okay, this is a good point, we could do something with this. This is a good point, we could do something with it. And I felt like there was a lot of setup and there was not a like beginning, middle, and end to the story here.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which is why I'm wondering if the 3 volumes are literally beginning, middle, end for the one story.
Mm.
But I mean, like, I felt like everyone we met round about him had a little more intrigue than him. Like, I wanted to
Yeah.
follow them and find out more about them. Like,
Yeah.
the town with the big cannon, like the fact that they had the elf imprisoned. I'm like, okay, I want to
That's
know more.
interesting.
I want to know more
Yeah.
about that. Or even when he
Yeah.
gets kicked out of the city. When he finds the elf, he
Yeah.
gets kicked out and he gets abandoned and he finds the random wizard out in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Yeah.
The dude who doesn't realise it's the apocalypse and thinks it's still the same as it was before the whole, what was it, whatever the hell.
Quench.
The quench, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quench, like when all the magic disappeared, he thinks it's still before then. I'm like, and then he's got like the bandit that keeps coming to him like once a month to bring him supplies. And I'm like,
Yeah.
who end up attacking the
Yeah.
other city. I'm like, I want to know more about
This is
them.
interesting.
That's a
Yeah.
really interesting concept. How did she cope? Why did she keep coming back? What does she know about
Yeah.
this guy?
Yeah.
What does he literally think's going on month to month? Like this this
Yeah.
bandit is like running out and she's riding with a whole bunch of other bandits who have a rolling city.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to know more about like
Yes.
I
Yeah.
want to know about all this stuff and you're not giving me it, and I'm worried that in 3 volumes I'm not going to find out any more about that stuff. I'm going to be a ride along with a guy whose name I don't even know, that's not got any interesting features. Like,
Yeah.
hell, the unicorn's more interesting than he is.
Yes.
Yes.
I want to know about that
Unicorn.
Yeah.
badass unicorn, the
Yeah.
stabby horse with an attitude and it keeps cussing.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
want to
It's
know about
definitely
him.
Scottish.
I 100% want to know about that unicorn. It's
Yeah.
like,
Oh, that's funny.
but like, he's literally the only character I look at where I'm like, I really,
Yeah.
Tell me more of his story. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, you've not given me a reason to care.
Yeah. What were you saying, Token Asian? You're about to say something?
Yeah, so I feel like it could have been a creative decision, which unfortunately I don't think it would have been the right one, but what the authors might have been trying to do is not make him much of a character because they want to put you as that character.
Hmm.
And so you're supposed to more envision yourself than him
I can
because
see that.
it
Yeah.
is more of a D&D-esque type story. It's like you want to imagine that character as you.
Yeah,
That
try and
makes
make him
sense.
more of an everyman that anybody can see
Yes,
themselves
yeah,
as. Yeah.
The only even visually, I feel like they did that. Like, I feel like they really didn't make him have any really like astounding features.
Other than his hair, you
Distinguishable.
know?
Yeah.
He's very like he looks like any other dude you'd
Yeah.
see like down the street. But that can work, but also with the lack of story behind it, and the slow paceness of the story,
It's
it
so
just
slow.
didn't work.
Mhm.
It unfortunately didn't work. And also, you know how I don't know if y'all have ever heard this, but you know how some people like people would say they have main character syndrome.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like, I think this dude probably has main character syndrome. And so that's why he has like this person bringing him stuff because he's just used to being the main character of his story.
Yeah.
The only problem is like the main characters are the main characters because they're supposed to be the ones that make the audience want to actually pay attention.
Yeah.
I felt like for me for this novel that I had to read very quickly, so honestly I didn't get to absorb it as much as I wanted to. That's I thought it was a decent story, and it wasn't bad enough for me not to want to like put it down. I didn't
Yeah.
immediately
Mhm.
Right.
just like throw it across the room like, oh, I don't feel like reading this, this is boring. Like,
If anything, that was the most interesting part to me. Was like the story.
Yes.
yeah, like I didn't
Agreed.
get too bored, but like after a while I was like, okay, like, are we gonna do something here? Is anything gonna happen? Like, are we gonna find out about the wife? Like, I was more excited to find out about the wife.
Yeah.
Then, like, does she even still like this dude? Is she even still digging him? Like, I thought at first she was like a prisoner in like a caravan, and
Or I thought she could have just been straight up dead. Like
right,
not even
like
That's what I
dead.
was expecting. I was honestly
No.
expecting he was going after her and she was already dead. That was like going to be
Mhm.
the thing. I went a totally different
Mhm.
direction for what we thought with that one.
I will say that reveal, though, his wife reveal, was, in my
Yes.
opinion, that was the best part of the whole story.
Yeah, that was
That
the
was
best
really,
twist
really
of the whole
cool.
thing. That was
And yeah, for me with the art, because I don't know, I just felt like the book just didn't catch its flow. Like the art sometimes didn't flow, the lettering didn't flow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because I think of like Middle West, and I think of like when you talked about like flowing art, like that art flows
Yeah.
so well,
yes.
and it is kind
Yes,
of messy
absolutely.
in its own way, you know, like but it flows well.
There's a
Yeah.
there's a thing with art when you're doing art in order to draw attention to a specific part of the page. You dull down the contrast, you dull down the saturation on stuff. And the dulled down saturation basically takes your attention off this and you focus on the highly detailed, super saturated stuff.
Mhm.
With this, everything was super saturated. Everything like hardly like I mean, there's a little bit of contrast and stuff like that, but it's
I don't
just
know
super
if it was
saturated. Everything was. So it was just really hard to tell what was what.
I felt like
I
Yeah.
liked the coloring and I dig the
Yeah.
art. It's just I don't think they work together.
This was the only panel right here that really caught my eye
Yeah.
because it's darker in the back. There's way more contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
more
room.
depth.
There's room to breathe.
I mean, you
it
can even
gives
look at it
room
with
to
the
breathe.
panels just above it. Like, it looks completely different in its coloring and
Yeah.
the tone of it. It's
Yeah.
it's totally different. And
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, what the art reminded me of was the Sandman comic.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Especially the horse.
Yeah, the
And-
horse is very Sandman. He's very
And, like-
Sandman.
And as much as I love the Sandman, the art for me was not my favorite in that comic, and I honestly
I would
thought
agree.
I
this
felt
is like
I feel like
hot
with
take,
Sandman,
but-
though, it had a purpose when they did that sort of art, because most of it is following around Dream, and everything's meant to have
Right.
that dream-like feeling to it, especially when
Yeah.
he's in the dreaming. When he goes back to his own realm, it's like it's meant to be that dream-like quality to it. But even then, it's like you've got that artwork, but it's not oversaturated. It's a lot of darks and
Exactly.
blacks and dark blues and bits of white sporadically to kind of bring brightness to points. It's like it doesn't get oversaturated, so the artwork isn't completely unappealing. Whereas here it's like you've got that oversaturation on top of the artwork like that, and the two of them just, I don't feel like they mesh.
No,
Yeah.
they don't. And
It's
like,
just really a shame.
I
Yeah.
feel like Matt, if you're listening to this, your art is awesome,
No,
and the
yeah.
coloring is awesome. I just don't think it was a good combo to put them together.
I don't think it meshed well. Which is a shame because, like, I mean, like, literally, it's Matias that does the front cover of it.
It's gorgeous.
And it's like that front cover, and I'm like, hell yeah, I want to read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that caught my attention when you sent the book, Nitro. Was like, I saw that cover, that looks badass.
Yeah, you were like, dude.
And then I'm like, this is a
a huge
post-apocalyptic
unicorn horse. Heck
and it's a
yeah, dude.
post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
fantasy. That's the front cover. I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, I'm in, and I'm like, I mean, like, literally, I started wanting to steal the concept of this, like, because right now we're taking a break after the first Chronicles of Andrasia. I literally started thinking, like, Chronicles of Andrasia fantasy, the next one we're looking at is going to be steampunk, and I was literally thinking, what if we wrap up the trilogy of Chronicles of Andrasia with a post-apocalyptic fantasy? Like, there's so much stuff in this that I would love to utilize because it's a concept that's never been done. And I'm like, I'm looking at it done here, and I'm like, some of the concepts are phenomenal. The opening pages, he's in this valley with this body of a dragon, this skeleton of a dragon,
Yeah.
and the dragon's talking to him.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
because it's like immortal.
it's immortal,
die.
and it's just talking, and it's stuck there, and it's trying to convince him to come over and get in its mouth. And it's like, it's just talking to him, and I'm like, that's a cool concept.
Yeah.
The fact of, like, the hints of the quench in this world that came before, and he gets to the city. I still can't remember the name of the city. I don't care enough to open the book and look at it now, because I'm in the middle of a rant. But when he goes to the top of the city and he looks out and you see the last giant over in the distance, and this cannon that's using this Acker, which is like the magical essence to protect them in case this thing attacks. I'm like, I want to know more about that. This is a really cool world. This remains of this
the magical
world.
essence too, like having to be like a valuable resource.
This
Usually
resource is getting traded, and this
is like water or something. You know?
and then this city's got so much of it, and you find out it's because they are literally keeping an elf chained up in the basement and basically hacking bits off of him to feed their Acker. And I'm like, that's an insane and amazing concept for a fantasy story.
Awesome.
Like, that's amazing. There's so much you could do with that.
Yeah.
And they don't.
I like when you take fantasy concepts and you take normalized fantasy concepts and then you kind of turn them on their head. Like, even we have a very strong image of what we think elves look like in our brain. All of us do.
Yeah.
And then you open this book and you look at the elf in this book and you're like, holy crap, that's demented.
Yeah.
You know, I love stuff like that. And I think they did a really good job with that. A really good job with, we have this picture in our mind when we think of bards, and it's not the main character of this book. It's not. But as you go through the story, you're like, oh, I see it now. I see it.
Yeah. At the same time, as soon as you go like that, he's a bard, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I get it. I can see it. But then the biggest bit they did with the story was, of course, that we talked about was the reveal of the wife. Has been writing in his journal to his wife this whole time, who has been kidnapped by, I don't even remember what the hell they were called.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm trying to get to the last.
I think, yeah.
It was like a U it began with. They're kind of, I think they're meant to be kind of like orcs. But it's like a...
Urkins or something?
Arkin, that's it, yeah. Arkin.
U-R-K-E-N.
Yeah, the Arkin. So, like, she's been captured by the Arkins, and, like, he keeps telling people that when people find out about this, he tell them, like, look, you need to just let her go. She's gone. She's basically dead. There's no chance she's still alive. There's no chance that she's there. And you think, okay, so his wife's dead, and this is the thing that's keeping him going, which is an intriguing character trait. Like how he's processing his grief, how he's handling this grief, still writing to her and still talking about how she would have been a good person in this world. And then you get to the end of issue 3 and then the explanation at the start of issue 4, and it's like, oh no, she's an Urkin.
Yeah.
She's this great warrior Urkin who basically turned from the stuff that they were meant to do before and started basically being a paladin, this heroic fighter stepping in, and you even get to see her be badass in battle in issue 3 as she runs in to fight this monster, and it's like she does all this cool crazy stuff, and you find out, like, what is it, like every like once a year or whatever it is, you get taken over by this rage, so she goes out into the desert and lets this bloodlust, this rage take over her so she doesn't hurt anybody in the cities. And what he's really doing is trying to find Acker, not to save his wife like from the Urkin, but to save her from this curse of the Urkin that she experiences and goes through, and that she won't even, like, he tries to talk to her about it and she won't even talk to him. And it was like, that's a cool concept. She immediately became the most intriguing character in the whole book with that backstory.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And that's why I think it's the idea to make him as uninteresting as possible, so it could build to that, I think.
The problem is, issue 4 is where I lost my patience with him.
Yeah.
Because up to issue 3, he was a nothing character, practically. He didn't have anything about him. He was the everyman or whatever they were trying to do with him. Which was okay, fine. You're trying to do a concept, that's fine. In issue 4, I felt like they brought in the badass wife who... phenomenal character, phenomenal story. He didn't come across even the same as the previous issues. He didn't come across as her husband. He came across as the whiny little jackass following her around.
Yes.
And
100%.
anything that he was doing that was remotely intriguing and interesting, he made himself 100% dislikable in that moment. And I'm like, to the point of, like, the ending shot of the first volume is him revealing to, like, the mermaid that they know her, who's this freaking gang lord in the post-apocalyptic fantasy wasteland, which is like, okay, that when everyone was celebrating his wife, he took the time to go down and basically take the head of the elf to get enough Acker to try and free her of this.
It's like nobody is going to be happy with him. Like, and I wonder if that was also intentional too. Like,
because he keeps talking in the previous issues about the fact of how she was such a good person and how basically he's not, and can, like, one good deed remove you from all of this stuff? Can one good deed remove you from all the bad stuff you've done, or is it all wiped out because of that? And it's like, so it's like, it's clearly that he's seeing himself not as a good person. But I just felt like, even if he was a bad person, I like bad characters. I like villains. I like them if they're done in a good way.
So now it's like,
so even if it was he was a bad person, even if it was a bad person, or he was an anti-hero, or he was even a full-out villain, he could still be intriguing. But he became such a whiny runt in the last issue of the volume that by the time he's handing over the elf's head to show that he did this horrible thing to try and save his wife, I'm like, I don't care, you're still just a whiny little runt. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like,
I think that's part of the main characterization of this guy is like, he, even in the book, he says, I'm jealous whenever anybody else is around you, like talking to his wife in the letter, because you are paying attention to other people other than me. And I'm just like, all right, this dude might be a little obsessed.
Yeah.
It's got a little emotional codependence.
Yeah.
But the fact that she married him,
Yeah.
okay. It's not completely like
No, but like,
non-consensual, but
but when you hear that at first, you think that could be like a sweet little thing of like that. It's like I love you so much, I want to be around you,
Yeah.
and you could think, okay, that's maybe okay, and then you see the last issue, and you're like, oh no, oh no, you're one of them. You're no,
You're crazy.
yeah, you're
Like at first, I thought it was funny when he's like, no, whenever he's behind her, nope, don't do it. These are actually bad people and all this stuff. I thought that was kind of funny at first, but
yeah, because at first
those-
it's like, okay, he's trying to explain to her this is an awful place, like,
yeah.
and then it's like, no, you're just whining now, and like you're not.
'cause, like, as I was going through those last couple pages, I was like, dang, okay, like he just didn't stop. I'm like, all right,
Yeah. It was such a disappointment for it, because I'm like, I feel like going into, like, if I do pick up the second volume, and I probably am going to, because I'm intrigued enough to see what happens next. The problem is, after reading the first volume, I'm picking up the second volume for the exact same reason I picked up the first volume, for the intrigue of concept.
Yeah.
right.
The intrigue of the genre, the setup, the world that we're set in is intriguing enough that I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens now that he's taken the elf's head. I want to see what happens when he walks away with that, and if he tries to save his wife. Is he successful in stopping this from his wife? Is it something that can even happen? Because it seems like it's something that's in the biology of the Urkin from what's said, you know? Can you just get rid of that? Even with magic?
yeah. So it's like, how does his wife feel about that now too? Like,
and his wife's quite clearly not wanting to talk about it, not wanting to discuss anything like that, not wanting to go into it. But I'm like, if you're about to try and do this, surely that should still be a conversation you push.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even if she doesn't want to talk about it, I'm like, honey, I'm going to go and like get all this acre and murder an elf just so we can stop you doing this thing that you've never said that you don't want to stop doing. In fact,
he's already done it at that point too, which we find.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is the route we're going. And I'm like, in all honesty though, I would keep reading the book for her. To find out, like, for his wife, to follow her around, to see what her story is, because like she's way more intriguing as a protagonist.
I would agree.
Like the fact of like the whole setup is she's a classic fantasy like D&D character. She comes from this awful race who did these horrible things, who is now trying to be a good person, trying to be a hero, trying to fight monsters, protect people, do what she can to be a hero, has to deal with this thing that hits her and takes her over. It almost gave me feelings of like, I was watching Blade recently, and it's like, of like Blade, where it's like he's the hero, but he has to deal with like the thirst of the vampires.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's this thing she has to deal with, but she's fighting against it to still try and be a hero. And I'm like, she's the hero, she's the protagonist. Why are we following him? Hey there, Comic Clan. Did you know that Comics in the Cross are also on Patreon as well? For as little as just $2 a month, you can get access to all of our content from YouTube early before it drops here. That includes reviews for our comic books, tabletop gaming and video game channels, as well as the Indie Comic Book Club and our Let's Talk Comic interview show. Also, there is exclusive content available just to our Patreon subscribers. That includes watch-alongs, interviews, and a lot of behind-the-scenes information and goings-on in Comics in the Cross. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in checking out, then please go and check out the link for patreon.com/comicsinthecross. And if you do choose to support us and partner with us, then we are super grateful for that. And thank you so much for your kind and generous support. But for now, that's all from me. Let's head on back into your video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a feeling though that they're gonna, and I could be wrong, but I have a feeling in the next volume or the next two volumes, there's a story with him.
I hope that
there is a story with him, and I think to Joy's point, I think they're making him like less interesting on purpose.
Yeah.
So that when something does happen, it's that much bigger of a thing, And I don't know what that happening is, but I don't know. I could be wrong though.
No, I hope so. I absolutely hope so.
Yeah.
Because it looked like they were setting up some good stuff. The fact of like they seem to be setting up that he knew about quests, he knew about wizards, like he had the connection with the mermaid, he had all these different things that pop up in the book to show that he clearly has some sort of history and connection to stuff like this. So I'm like, I'm intrigued to where it goes. And like I said, I feel like it's more likely this is a complete story than like a standalone story arc.
Yeah.
Like reading through these, and I hope that comes back to it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to harp on in the negatives too much in a single rant, because there was honestly good stuff in this book I did like. Like, I like the concept of it. Something else I really did like about this book I wanted to mention as well is I like the fact that the writer is a British writer, and it very much was written in a British tongue.
Yes.
The characters were all speaking in that northern kind of Cockney dialect, that kind of...
I definitely noticed some slang, some British slang.
Just like
there
Goblin Horse.
Yeah. There was definitely British slang, there was definitely British phrasing, there was definitely like the way they said certain words, I knew that it was meant to be said in that sort of accent.
Yeah.
And being from the UK, I very much appreciated that he put that in there and made it feel like it. Because so much fantasy stuff is kind of set in an American setting, or at least spoke with American accents to a certain
it's not
degree.
really reflected, especially in like books or comics.
And it's like, it's one of those things like, okay, and it's like, or if it's like a book or a comic, it's just a general, standard, generic fantasy place.
Yeah.
But I appreciate there was some sort of accent there. I appreciate there was a place set in a taste of the UK placed in it.
Yeah.
And I very much appreciated that and appreciated him doing that. I thought it was really cool. Because it gave it a different flavour to it. It felt a bit different. So I just wanted to mention that briefly because that was something I did enjoy with it.
I did pick up on that just because my horrible like British accent, that's usually how I'm talking. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, I was like, hey, I can kind of relate to this a little.
That's funny.
Awesome.
I was like, either that or it's like Canadian because he kept going, but yeah, I thought that was really cool.
I feel like it sounds like we're being super negative on this, but I don't want to speak for everybody, but I don't think we're like hammering this book.
No,
I think
for
me,
have a desire to enjoy it.
I think for me, I think for everybody, but the concept is still just really, really cool. Because how many times have you ever heard of a post-apocalyptic high fantasy setting? I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
never. And that just sounded really cool. The art drew me in on the cover, and I just was like, oh man, I felt like it could have like hit so much better. But I'm hoping, because like you said, Cross, I dug it enough to want to see where the story goes in Volume 2. And if I like Volume 2, obviously finishing out Volume 3. But again, for those of you who are listening, we're not hammering this by any means, but we're just like, for me, I'll speak for myself. I feel like it could have hit better.
Me, with movies, books, anything like that, I really don't, for me, like to read too much about it beforehand. Like, I hate trailers. I hate anything like that because I want to go in with as little expectations as possible. And with this book, I had zero expectations. So for me, I really enjoyed the fact that it was more like medieval fantasy world that is a lot of what we do in D&D.
Yeah.
Because I feel like unless it's specifically a Dungeons and Dragon or like a Critical Role comic book, I don't really know of a ton of other comic books that are really doing that. So for a positive for me, it's just the fact that they use paladins. Like, you don't see paladins a lot in comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And they use different types of characters like that. Like bards, I don't ever really see unless it's an actual Dungeons and Dragons, like, and maybe that's just me not reading enough comic books, but
or The Witcher.
Right.
That's like a huge like selling point for me.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that we're in that world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's it. I think as much as I can say, like, there is definitely like stuff that we didn't enjoy in the book as much. Absolutely, it's like it wasn't enough to put me off the book. I thoroughly enjoyed the book. There was a lot of great stuff into it. Like that setup, like I said, I legitimately want to use that for a D&D campaign. That idea of a setting, I have never heard of it before, and it immediately became so intriguing.
Mhm.
What does a fantasy world in a post-apocalyptic setting look like?
Yeah.
You know, not just like, oh, something horrible's happened and we're, you know, stepping into this world that it's not as good as it used to be. No, it's literally the end of the world. And it's like, this is what it is. And then, like we said, the colour saturation, I think, affected the artwork, but the artwork's stunning. I mean, there's a couple of pages in issue 1. Look at that unicorn.
Mhm.
Like, that's a stunning piece of art, and I've never seen a unicorn like that in my freaking life.
That was one of my favorite parts of the whole book.
And then, like, the city they go to. Here's the art of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of work that went into the art is very apparent.
I mean,
yeah.
look at
without
that.
question.
There's gaps in the city, chains on the side. It looks like parts of it are almost floating. I'm like, that's a really cool concept design. Like, the art is really good. Like, it got a Walt Eisner nominee for the best penciler and inker for Matias Bergara's work, and I'm like, it deserves it. Some of these pictures are stunning. I do think the colour saturation wasn't right for them, and it made some of them harder to see, but the art is superb.
Yeah.
You know, and the concept of the story, even the story within the book, it's like, it's not awful. And part of it is like, I want to come in and say, like, I don't know if part of it's because I got super hyped on the concept, and then from our own D&D games and playing it, I was expecting this big massive thing, and my expectations were here, and like, oh, the book only came in at here.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if I came in at that level and like it's not hitting that, and I'm like, oh wait, and it's not hitting what I was expecting, and I'm like, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, like, because this could be a simple thing of like, it's meant to be this single shot in this crazy world that he's created, and that's the story that's being told here, and sometimes that's the only story that's being told in that world. Not every world needs to be expanded into this massive thing,
Right.
and it's like, if I came in like without that high expectation, like if I came into reading this without us being on the high, especially like having just finished like Chronicles of Andrasia, our D&D campaign, like literally we finished that on a Monday night and we're recording this on Thursday.
Yeah.
Like it's 3 days later we're recording this.
Yeah, we just finished a 2-year-long D&D high fantasy campaign, so.
And like I said, most of it is like, I started reading it before the end of it, but I didn't finish reading it until the end of this week, when we'd already finished that campaign. So I was already in this world, and don't get me wrong, some of that stuff still hit as part of it. But I'm like, I don't know if it would hit as hard if we weren't in the midst of doing that at the same time, because in the midst of reading this, we were in the final few sessions, if not just finishing the final session of our campaign, which when you're that steeped in a fantasy session that you're invested in, it affects things, and it does. And I want to bring that up just thinking of like, that could be a factor. That could be a factor in how
the idea of just wanting to be invested as well is a factor too, because like, oh, like this sounds awesome, and then you read it and you're like, and like we all have mixed feelings about it, which is kind of wild because most of us, you know, we tend to speak pretty positively about most things, you know, like aside from a few points. But it was just kind of crazy for all of us to go in like feeling this way about it. Like it's just kind of wild.
I honestly thought I was going to be the odd person out.
I
know.
I thought I was.
And I think for me, it's just the art just took me out of it.
Yeah.
I couldn't focus on what was happening in the story because I was trying to figure out what was going on with the art. And in my opinion, that's like a cardinal sin with comics. It's like having an awful lead singer in a really good band.
Yeah.
It's a cardinal sin for me.
Like we already have focus issues.
Yeah.
See, that's what I was going to say though.
I had
like,
a hard time.
It was so funny that we made that joke coming into this about the ADHD, because we were kind of talking about it before we hit record. And it's like, it was so funny we made that joke right at the start, but after hearing everyone's opinion and everyone having the similar struggle
That makes sense.
and realizing we were all neurodivergent, I'm wondering if that was a factor.
And that's just a
Maybe.
discovery I've only
Like
made
the
about myself
struggling
in the
to
last couple
focus, the
weeks
struggling
as well.
to look in and read and focus and get into the art like that. I'd love to hear, like, if you're watching this on YouTube and you don't have any sort of ADHD or autism or any sort of neurodivergency, I would love to hear your thoughts on the artwork in Coda if it was something you struggled with. Because I honestly wonder if having ADHD affected my way of intaking that.
Processing.
Like if it
Yeah.
was too,
Yeah.
like if it was an overload of information for my brain to process that it took me out of the story.
You know what? That could be it.
I started honestly thinking as I realized, like, we literally joked about that, and I'm like, and all four of us are literally saying the same thing, and I'm like,
That's funny.
is that literally a factor in this? Like, because we keep saying the same thing. What are we all saying? The art looks amazing, but the oversaturation is too much with it.
It's distracting.
And if the oversaturation wasn't there, would we be able to focus?
A lot, and not that I don't want to use my brain, but like when I'm reading something for entertainment, I don't want to have to work too hard
Yes.
to like consume it.
It's this the art in this did the same thing. I had, and I love you, Cross. You got me a Sea of Thieves comic, and the first page is like 9 panels, and it's a wall of text. And it happens for like 4 pages in a row. And I remember I laid down in bed one night to read it. Joy remembers. And I opened it and I was like, nope. And I closed it and put it down. And I think for me, the art did the same thing.
I had no idea that was the start of that book. I'm so sorry.
I'm still gonna read it. I'm still gonna read it. I just need to rev myself up for it. But that it's like the same thing. It set off the same part of my brain when I was reading this comic, when I was trying to I was really focusing and trying to interpret this art.
Yeah, it's
felt
hard
like
work.
the same thing with the text.
Yeah, this is meant to be, like, for people like us with neurodivergencies, this is meant to be one of those enjoyable hyperfixations of reading a comic. It's meant to be one of those things that you can just get lost in and enjoy and don't have to think about. So when you have to overly think about it, it becomes a struggle.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%, by the way, I mentioned it before we started recording, next year we backed a neurodivergent comic on made by creators with neurodivergencies and other disabilities on Kickstarter. 100% we're covering that in Indie Comic Book Club. I think that's a must read for next year now. Just with that coming up tonight, that's a definite to read, because that literally, that might be it. That literally might be the factor in it.
I didn't think about that till you said that, but that makes sense.
But I think definitely, like I said, though, I'm going to pick up Volume 2 and 3. Or at least Volume 2. I want to see where the story goes. I'm intrigued enough of the concept. And I will definitely give Simon Spurrier and Matias Bergara like a shout out if we do this in a D&D campaign, because it's a very big possibility, I'm not going to lie. It very well might be one of the settings we end up using. Something similar, but like I commend them for at least, even if it isn't, like, if it wasn't a rousing success, making an attempt in something like this, but there isn't really anything to compare it to. There isn't.
It was a
anything
huge
else.
swing.
That was a massive shot, and there's some great, phenomenal concepts in here that I can't deny are amazing.
The unicorns alone.
The unicorn.
Yeah, the pentacorns was awesome.
Yeah.
Or the pentacorns.
Yeah, the pentagon. That image, like, for people watching YouTube, you all can see it now. We've got the image of the front cover of the comic up, and I'm like, that front cover just with the pentacorn standing behind him, I'm like, yeah,
the damn
that's
horse
enough.
is stronger than this dude.
Yeah.
The horse is a better fighter. Like,
To
be fair, the horse is a psycho.
Yeah, there's one panel or one splash page where the horse just murders a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's awesome.
Horse is an absolute psychopath, and I love the fact that it keeps talking every so often, and it's just like it's cursing. It's like the different symbols, and I'm like, I kind of love that. It's amazing. It's like this. Yeah. Overall, it was a mostly enjoyable read. It was hard to kind of get my brain engaged for it, but there was definitely I would at least give it a 50-50. There was really enjoyable stuff, and there was stuff I didn't enjoy as much.
I was sad that I was having mixed feelings about it because like,
It's not the best comic we've ever done at Indie Comic Book Club, but it's definitely not the worst.
Definitely not. That would go to Chew.
Okay,
Sorry, everybody
every
who loves
time
that,
I
sorry.
try to be nice and not say the name of Chew, and every time you're like Chew.
Yeah. I mean, if
The hatred this man has for that comic.
If you want to read it, go for it.
The hatred he has for Chew is insane.
Image Comics,
I
go pick up the
still
first volume.
have that on my list to read.
You can have it.
I want to read it. Just
I have
to
volume
see how
1.
bad it
It's
is,
all yours.
or how good it is. We'll see. I've thought about bringing it on the plane with me.
I'm literally just waiting
it.
for Joy to read it now and just to absolutely love it.
Dude, she's
I
gonna.
know, I thought
It's always opposites with us. She'll absolutely love it. We talk about Chew every indie comic book review.
It somehow comes up. I don't know how. I don't know how.
That's why it's so good. It's.
well, and then the last time I mentioned like, oh, that
love the more you go along.
that author is like from here, like so. I was like, oh, when you mentioned it.
And I think we try to be nice and kind of like just kind of dance around. They're like, oh, it was not the worst thing we've done, or that author's done worse than that. It's like, no, it's this one. This is his worst. This is
it. Regardless of whether we're trying to like be positive about it or not, like there's clearly a bar that we have going. Like there's like,
I think that's it as well, though. We've hit some phenomenal comics. I mean, even just since we restarted Indie Comic Book Club, we've read some amazing comics.
The Devil That Wears My Face, Dave Pepos.
Yeah,
the Devil
That Wears My Face, Middle West. You guys did Saga.
Yeah.
Saga.
Mm-hmm.
Did we do another one? I feel like we did a fourth.
No, that was it.
Is that it? Is it only 3 we've done? It's like we've done that, then not to mention all the ones like we did before we took the hiatus from it that we did before on the podcast.
Oh, we did
Once a Future, that's it.
Right.
Once a Future, that's it.
There goes our brains
I
again.
knew there was another one. I knew there was another one. You all tried to gaslight me. No, we've only done 3.
Hey, I didn't say yay or nay, so don't lump me in with the y'all.
I remembered.
But I mean, we've had some phenomenal books that we have read.
Once a Future was really
That's it. Once the Future was amazing. We all really enjoyed Middle West. You guys absolutely loved Saga. Like, we've had some phenomenal books. The Devil That Wears My Face was an amazing story.
And I think it's funny because I feel like for the most part we've had a few different opinions at least in the group, and this one we're kind of all unified. Yeah,
that's the thing that intrigued. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of figured like the way I was feeling. I'm like, yeah, Nitro and LG are probably gonna feel the same way. Joy, you're the one that shocked me because you usually have the differing opinion from us.
Yeah,
I know. That's why.
So I'm like, I thought you're gonna like find something that's absolutely amazing that we've just not seen.
And we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, especially with graphic novels, because just how much goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
I'm still doing that. I just
no, and
you gotta call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
And that's the thing as well, like, it's not even a case of, like, it's not one of those things, like, it would blacklist any of the creators from me ever wanting to check out their other work. Like, specifically, like, Simon Spurrier and Matias Bergara, like, they're actually teaming up again for a book that are releasing through Distillery that's coming out in 2025, and, like, I'm 100% wanting to check it out.
Yeah.
I want to see what they do with it and what other kind of worlds they can create. I think they're both great at what they do. But not everything that someone's going to do is a 10 out of 10. Not everything is going to be a 5-star book. It's not. Some of them are going to hit, and then that's the thing. If you're watching this, you might pick up Coda and absolutely adore it, and it's everything that you need, and it's not going to be distracting art for you, and it's not going to be a struggle.
To be fair, it won an Eisner. I mean, it's won awards. So there's a
it was nominated at least.
Nominated. I mean, there's a ton of people that really, really, really love this comic. So
yeah, it's like it's definitely got a lot of praise out there, and that's the thing as well. Like, I can see why. I don't necessarily fully agree into that, but like if people go, "Oh yeah, this is the best comic ever," I'm like, I get it. I get why you would think that. There's a lot to honestly enjoy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's definitely not the best one we've covered since we've started, but 100%. I'm like, it's definitely not what I'm going to say. Yeah, that's the end of it for me. No, I want to go check it out more.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Yeah, I think that's my new line. Am I intrigued enough, or did I like it enough to want to buy the second volume?
Yes.
And there's been some comics where I'm like, no, I'm okay. But most of the comics that we've reviewed, if they have a second volume, I'm like, yes, 100%. I want to get the next volume. This one is the one where I'm like, I would read the second volume. I don't know. I'm hoping it delivers what I would like it to deliver.
It's on comicsology, so I might.
Yeah, so absolutely, and I think that's it. Like some of the ones we've covered, like we did Once in Future, immediately like you get it in your basket in Amazon. We're like, okay, 100%. Getting it.
Yeah.
Devil That Wears My Face, I know for a fact if that had another volume, we'd be picking that up. And it's like, with this one, it's like, yeah, I want to check it out. I want to at least see what happens. Yeah. And I think that's a good benchmark for it, is absolutely, because I think if it's, I don't want to continue reading, it's one of those things people complain about, comics and stuff, but like you vote with your money, what stuff you enjoy. Exactly. If you're not reading, if you're not enjoying it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
And see, for me, I have. It's a little harder for me because the reason why I pick up the next issue is because I have to be obsessed with the first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like with Saga, I've gotten all of them because I'm obsessed. Mm-hmm. With Lock and Key, I have all of them because, and with Amulet, and some of them just end and it kills me because I want more. Like, but with this one, I'm not running. Like, if for the most part with a graphic novel, if I'm gonna continue the series, I'm literally running to the store to get the next one as soon as I can. Like, I don't hesitate. I just power through them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my bar. And it's a little bit higher for me just because I just have
when you truly enjoy something because you get you get obsessed with it.
I only got but so much time to read in the first place. So I'm gonna use that time to my advantage.
Yeah, I get it.
No, absolutely, and I think that's the thing as well. Like, it's definitely not that sort of bar for this.
There's other things on my list. I know I gotta read it.
I would love to read the second volume of this and check it out, but don't get me wrong. There's other stuff on my shelf I want to read first. There's others.
100%.
There's other volumes and follow-ups to other books that we've done that I still need to buy that I want to get before this. 100%. It's definitely not a top of the list thing for me or anything like that. It's one I'm like, if I get to it, I can get to it. I'd be okay reading it, but I'm not rushing out to it. So if you wanted to do it as a top 3 thing, obsessed, have to read the next one. I want to read the next one, and I'm good. We're definitely in the middle with it.
Yeah.
It's definitely in the middle for it. I just want to
find more that I'm obsessed with.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the goals. Find good comics you can obsess over.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like finding the diamond in the rough because there's so much out there, and when you find out one, you're like, "Holy crap, this is amazing! I'm gonna tell everybody about this." Like Lock and Key. Exactly. When we found that, I was like, "Dude, everyone who's been slightly interested in indie comics, I'm like, dude, immediately go out and buy Volume 1 of Lock and Key."
Yeah.
One of the best.
Yeah, Lock and Key, 100%. It was the first. It's quite fitting as well that it was the first ever comic that kicked off our indie comic book club all the way back in 2020. It was Lock and Key, and it's very fitting because it's still to this day one of the best that we've ever reviewed.
I mean, I love God Country. For me, it's probably my favorite indie comic, but Lock and Key is super close.
Yeah, Lock and Key is a definite high up for me. It's one of my favorites. Absolutely. Is there anything else anyone has on the book before we wrap up for today?
For me, just to recap, Matt, if you're listening, your art is stunning. And the story is really cool and it's really intriguing.
Mm-hmm. Story was my favorite part.
It's very creative.
It's very creative, and it's a really cool take on the fantasy genre, which I haven't seen a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see where the story goes.
There. I think that's a good read.
Yeah.
I would recommend it, especially for someone who likes fantasy.
Yeah.
I would recommend it.
I would recommend it. If someone said they were a fan of fantasy books, I would put it in a list with other fantasy books.
I have a good test. Caleb started reading comics again, and I might tell him to check this one out just to see what he thinks.
Do it.
That'd be an interesting one, actually. Then again, he's ADHD as well, so he's probably going to have the same reaction to that as us. So,
But again, I'm curious.
Throw it across the room.
if he has the exact same reaction to the art that we do, then it's definitely a neurodivergent thing.
No,
100%.
We need someone not neurodivergent to be the tiebreaker, like to know.
I don't have any of them. I hired all the people I knew on Comics to Cross,
Dude,
and you all were neurodivergent. I don't.
Dude, it was funny. I was talking with someone the other day. This is a total aside. I'm sorry. I was talking with someone the other day, and I realized that all three of the people that we were talking were all ADHD, and I was like, it's amazing how ADHD people just collect other ADHD friends. It's just, it happens. I don't know how.
It literally happened with Comics in the Cross. Me and Nigel found each other and collected each other, and then we just collected other people, and now our whole team is like neurodivergent at the very least.
We're the only ones who can tolerate each other.
Yeah,
apparently, yeah. And it's like
we get each other's hyper focus.
Yeah, pretty much.
Craziness. Yeah.
And hyper procrastination.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah, sorry, just on that as well. Like, I literally would, with LJ starting to think he had this, like, possibly had ADHD, I literally sent him a message the other day saying, okay, for your videos for YouTube, do you want me to give you a deadline?
I needed it.
Literally because I thought about it, and I'm like, ADHD works with a deadline. I said, LG, do you want me to give you deadlines for these videos so you can get them done? And he went, yes, that would actually help so much. And I'm like, awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I need deadlines like nobody's business.
And I'm like, it helps when you've got ADHD, is just having that deadline. Don't get me wrong, it's absolute torture because you can't get anything done until the pressure hits in like the last,
Oh, yeah.
in the 11th hour. And it's like, but at the end of the day, you get it done.
I just know I have an expectation for when I can stop procrastinating.
Yeah, exactly.
10 o'clock at night making edits, or coming home from work making edits before.
Oh, that's exactly what it's like. Absolutely. Like I've literally had nights of like editing and uploading videos on a Thursday night to drop on a Friday morning on YouTube,
Nice.
like finishing it on that night. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Why? And I'm like, that's why.
So neurotypical people don't struggle with that. I felt like that was like normal and everyone does that.
I think
So
they have
did
this
I,
thing
but
where
it's
they
like,
can
no.
schedule regular things and they can do them on time, which is kind of crazy and way ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I know.
Is that a thing?
That's barbaric.
Yeah, that is barbaric.
Yeah, I don't know how
It should be
people do
outlawed.
that. That's no. That's
I don't even know how.
how do you all
someone
work
do
like that?
That sounds so boring.
I'm like, no. I'd rather procrastinate and do something I want to do right now and then panic and flail and throw things about as I try to get it done. And the final minutes, it's like, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Just
In sheer terror with your hair on fire. That's how you do it.
Like, we all read this comic.
Oh, dear. But I think we're definitely tangenting off. This is definitely coming to the end of this. But
we would have had it read in like the first week.
I know. If we done like that, yeah, it's like we're getting next Indie Comic Book Clubs next week. Yep, read, done, boom. But we have been checking. Yes, so we have been checking out Coda Vol.1 this month. We are going to be back next month for a very special Christmas Indie Comic Book Club for Crossmas, as I'm calling it on the channel.
Yeah.
Look, I've got a bunch of Christmas themed books I can cover. This is one of the few chances I can do Crossmas on the channel. I'm going to do it. You know how hard it is to get a Christmas themed comic? And we actually have one for Indie Comic Book Club called Death Comes for the Toy Maker, which is from Magma Comics, and it's a spoof on a kind of Santa story as well as talking about the Grim Reaper. And I thought that would be a cool one to talk about for Christmas, right in time for Christmas. Let's definitely delve in and see what it is. And a special shout out to Magma Comics. They've been really good about sending us stuff and letting us check out and review stuff and connecting with us. So want to show a little love back to them. So that is going to be our Indie Comic Book Club for next month. And we will probably read it the day of recording because that's what we do, folks.
That's what winners are made of.
Everything.
But also as well, I think it's kind of set in stone now as well. When we come back for the new year for our Indie Comic Book Club in January 2025, we're going to be doing a special crossover from here on the comic book channel to our gaming channel that is ran by Mr. LJ the Paladin. He has got a game review coming out for Black Sad, and there is actually a comic book, a detective noir comic that goes along with that. So we are going to check it out for the Indie Comic Book Club and do our first ever channel crossover for it. So we are super, super excited for checking that out. But as for now, that is all from us. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We greatly appreciate you stopping by. Go ahead, click that like, and if you enjoy what you're seeing here, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any more content coming from Comics in the Cross. Also as well, right above Nitro, you can see our BCW code up there. The link is down below. Click on that link and use code ComicsCross to save 10% on everything that you buy there for all your comic collecting needs, and clicking on the link also kicks a little bit of money back and supports us, so thank you. Also as well, remember, check us out on Patreon, as over on Patreon you get early access to all of this. Like literally, we are recording this now, and once we're off of here I will edit it and get it up on Patreon. And it'll be up there probably a good couple of weeks before it hits, or at least a week before it hits on YouTube. So if you want to get early access to that and all our videos from all of our channels, as well as exclusive content just for Patreon, go check out our Patreon link down below. But thank you so much for watching with us. Have a good evening, and remember, it is a good week to be a geek. Take care. We'll see you all soon.
Adios.
Peace.
Peace.
Yep.